The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides specific requirements for working space around electrical equipment, including load centers. These requirements are outlined in NEC Article 110.26. Adequate working space is essential for the safe operation and maintenance of electrical equipment. It provides enough room for electricians and other qualified personnel to perform their tasks safely and effectively. NEC 110.26a addresses the depth of working space in front of electrical equipment. The required depth depends on the voltage to ground and the condition of the space opposite the equipment. Condition 1 specifies exposed live parts on one side and no live or grounded parts on the other side of the working space, or exposed live parts on both sides, effectively guarded by suitable wood or similar insulating materials. Condition 2 specifies exposed live parts on one side and grounded parts on the other side. Condition 3 specifies exposed live parts on both sides of the working space not guarded. For example, for equipment operating at 151 to 600 volts to ground, the required depth for Condition 1 is 3 feet, Condition 2 is 3 feet 6 inches, and Condition 3 is 4 feet. For equipment operating at 601 to 2500 volts, the required depth for Condition 1 is 4 feet, Condition 2 is 5 feet, and Condition 3 is 6 feet. For equipment operating at 2501 to 9000 volts, the required depth for Condition 1 is 5 feet, Condition 2 is 6 feet, and Condition 3 is 9 feet. For equipment operating at 9001 to 25,000 volts, the required depth for Condition 1 is 6 feet, Condition 2 is 8 feet, and Condition 3 is 10 feet. For equipment operating at 25,001 to 75,000 volts, the required depth for Condition 1 is 8 feet, Condition 2 is 10 feet, and Condition 3 is 12 feet. NEC 110.26 ATWO covers the width of the working space. The width must be at least 30 inches, or the width of the equipment, whichever is greater. This ensures that there is enough room for personnel to move around and work on the equipment safely. It is important to note that the working space must be clear and unobstructed. This means that there should be no pipes, ducts, or other equipment within the required working space. NEC 110.26c addresses the height of working space. The height of the working space must be at least 6 feet 6 inches, or the height of the equipment, whichever is greater. This ensures that there is enough headroom for personnel to work comfortably and safely. In addition to the depth, width, and height requirements, the NEC also specifies requirements for illumination and access to the working space. Adequate illumination is essential for safe working conditions. The NEC requires that the working space be adequately illuminated. Access to the working space must be clear and unobstructed. The NEC requires that there be a clear and unobstructed path to the working space. The NEC also addresses specific requirements for dedicated equipment space. This dedicated space is intended to protect the electrical equipment from damage and to ensure that it is easily accessible for maintenance and repairs. The dedicated equipment space extends from the floor to a height of 6 feet above the equipment, or to the structural ceiling, whichever is lower. No foreign systems, such as piping, ducts, or other equipment, are permitted within this dedicated space. It's crucial to remember that these are minimum requirements, and in some situations, additional working space may be necessary to ensure safety and accessibility. Local codes and regulations may also have additional requirements that must be followed. Always consult the latest edition of the NEC and local codes to ensure compliance. Understanding and adhering to the NEC requirements for working space around electrical equipment is essential for preventing electrical hazards and ensuring the safety of personnel. Proper planning and installation are key to creating a safe and compliant electrical system. Failure to comply with these requirements can result in fines, delays, and, most importantly, increased risk of electrical accidents. The dimensions specified in the NEC are not arbitrary. They are based on practical experience and engineering principles to provide a reasonable margin of safety. The voltage to ground is a critical factor in determining the required working space depth. Higher voltages require greater distances to prevent arc flash and other electrical hazards. The condition of the space opposite the equipment also plays a significant role. If there are exposed live parts on both sides of the working space, a greater depth is required to provide adequate protection. The width requirement of 30 inches is intended to allow a person to safely maneuver and work on the equipment. This width should be maintained even if the equipment itself is narrower. The height requirement of 6 feet 6 inches ensures that most people can stand upright and work comfortably without hitting their head on overhead obstructions. Proper illumination is essential for identifying potential hazards and performing tasks accurately. The NEC requires sufficient lighting to provide a safe and productive work environment. Clear and unobstructed access to the working space is critical for emergency situations and routine maintenance. Personnel must be able to quickly and easily reach the equipment without having to navigate around obstacles. The dedicated equipment space is intended to protect the electrical equipment from physical damage and to prevent other systems from interfering with its operation. This space should be kept clear of all foreign systems. In summary, the NEC requirements for working space around electrical equipment are designed to protect personnel from electrical hazards and to ensure the safe and reliable operation of electrical systems. By understanding and adhering to these requirements, we can create a safer working environment for electricians and other qualified personnel. Always refer to the latest edition of the NEC and local codes for the most up-to-date information and requirements. It's also a good practice to consult with a qualified electrical inspector or engineer to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. Remember that safety is paramount, and taking the time to properly plan and install electrical equipment according to code requirements is always the best approach. This not only protects people but also ensures the long-term reliability and performance of the electrical system. Consider a scenario where a load center is installed in a commercial building. The voltage to ground is 277 volts. According to NEC 110.26 AON, if there are exposed live parts on one side and grounded parts on the other side, the required working space depth is 3 feet 6 inches. The width of the working space must be at least 30 inches. The height of the working space must be at least 6 feet 6 inches. The area in front of the load center must be clear and unobstructed, with adequate illumination. No foreign systems are permitted within the dedicated equipment space. Now consider another scenario where a load center is installed in an industrial facility. The voltage to ground is 480 volts. According to NEC 110.26 AON, if there are exposed live parts on both sides of the working space and not guarded, the required working space depth is 4 feet. The width of the working space must be at least 30 inches. The height of the working space must be at least 6 feet 6 inches. The area in front of the load center must be clear and unobstructed, with adequate illumination. No foreign systems are permitted within the dedicated equipment space. These examples illustrate the importance of understanding and applying the NEC requirements for working space around electrical equipment. Always take the time to carefully assess the specific conditions and requirements of each installation to ensure compliance and safety. It's also worth noting that the NEC is not a design manual. It provides minimum safety requirements, but it's always a good practice to exceed these requirements whenever possible to provide an extra margin of safety. For example, if the NEC requires a working space depth of 3 feet 6 inches, it may be beneficial to provide a working space depth of 4 feet or more. Similarly, if the NEC requires a working space width of 30 inches, it may be beneficial to provide a working space width of 36 inches or more. These additional measures can help to improve safety and accessibility, especially in situations where multiple people may be working on the equipment at the same time. The NEC is a living document that is constantly being updated and revised to reflect the latest technological advancements and safety practices. It's important to stay informed about the latest changes and updates to the NEC to ensure that your electrical installations are always in compliance. You can access the latest edition of the NEC through the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, website. You can also attend training courses and seminars to learn about the latest changes and updates to the NEC. By staying informed and up to date, you can help to improve safety and prevent electrical accidents. Remember that electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. By working together to understand and apply the NEC requirements, we can create a safer working environment for everyone. Always prioritize safety and take the time to do things right. The consequences of electrical accidents can be devastating, so it's always better to be safe than sorry. In addition to the specific requirements for working space around electrical equipment, the NEC also includes general requirements for electrical safety. These general requirements cover a wide range of topics, including grounding, overcurrent protection, wiring methods, and equipment installation. It's important to be familiar with these general requirements as well as the specific requirements for working space. Grounding is a critical aspect of electrical safety. Proper grounding helps to prevent electrical shock and fire hazards by providing a low impedance path for fault currents to flow back to the source. Overcurrent protection devices, such as circuit breakers and fuses, are designed to protect electrical circuits from overloads and short circuits. These devices interrupt the flow of current when it exceeds a safe level, preventing damage to equipment and reducing the risk of fire. Wiring methods refer to the types of conductors and cables that are used in electrical installations. The NEC specifies different wiring methods for different applications and environments. Equipment installation refers to the proper installation and mounting of electrical equipment. The NEC specifies requirements for equipment installation to ensure that the equipment is properly supported, protected, and accessible. By following the NEC requirements for grounding, overcurrent protection, wiring methods, and equipment installation, you can help to create a safer and more reliable electrical system. Always consult the latest edition of the NEC and local codes for the most up-to-date information and requirements. It's also a good practice to consult with a qualified electrical inspector or engineer to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. Electrical work can be dangerous, so it's important to take the necessary precautions to protect yourself and others. Always wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and gloves. Never work on live electrical circuits unless you are properly trained and qualified. If you are not comfortable working on electrical equipment, it's best to hire a qualified electrician. Remember that electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. By working together to understand and apply the NEC requirements, we can create a safer working environment for everyone.